Olivia, and we'll go ahead and get started. Next, please. Okay, so over the years, CPSC's staff has grown considerably. You can see we're up to 7 employees. Over this past year, we've welcomed May and Olivia. Very happy to have them on board. They're both working as interns and contributing to countless programs and campaigns through CPSC. Very proud to have them on team. And as you can see, we continue to have Joanne, myself, Yalan, and Virginia. Next, please. Led by our fearless boss, Doug. The CPSC is led by our board of directors, and you can see here our executive board, including Christina Miller from City of Rio Vista. We've got Ted serving as vice chair, Colleen Foster as board treasurer, and Amy Hams as the board secretary. Next, please. And our board has expanded over the last year or so. We're currently up to 15. You can see the other members of the board listed here. We're very grateful for their leadership, and each of them bring just a world of experience to the board, and CPSC benefits greatly by having each and every one of these members on the board. And you can see it's a very diverse board, and it covers all types of geography in California. We've got quite a few folks representing the rural areas, quite a few from the urban areas, and from both private and public spheres. Next slide, please.
Nate, let me jump in real quick just on that slide. So just folks, so Nate mentioned that we are now up to 15 members. That action was just taken by the board this month to expand the board to 15. We lost Manuel Medrano from the city of Chula Vista. He has resigned from the board. He's got lots of other things going on. We appreciated all of his work over the years on the board. He was here for I think 6 years, so he was here a long time. And so we had some applications come in. The board approved 2 new board members. We felt we had 2 really qualified candidates that applied, and our diversity committee wanted to not have to pick between the 2 because they felt they were so qualified and would offer so much to the board. Those 2 candidates have been notified that they have been selected, and so you'll see as the year progresses, we'll have those 15 members on the board, and we're glad to have all of them.
Thanks again, Doug. Yeah, and as Doug mentioned, that didn't happen during 22-23. That was a very fresh new action from just this past week. Funding, we always like to talk a bit about funding. You can see that our funding sources come from primarily grants and our associates and sponsors. And we've got a little slide here that shows the cities and counties and districts and JPAs that financially support CPSC. We're incredibly grateful for your collaboration and your financial support. Next slide, please. And here's a listing of our major sponsors, led by the circular level at 20,000 plus. That's Little Camper, Platinum. You can see we've got additional sponsors listed there. We're incredibly grateful for the financial support that we receive from the sponsors, and as I mentioned, the associates. Each of these organizations bring a lot to the table, not just money to help us keep our doors open, but they also provide valuable insight into each of the policy issues and campaigns that we currently work on. So thank you for your support in every forum. Next slide, please. Olivia.
Hi, everyone. So CPSC's original mission focused strictly on EPR, and that's changed a little bit over the years. Our current mission has shifted to California's material economy, from a linear model that subsidizes resource extraction, including ratepayer finance, collection, and disposal, towards a more circular economy that relies on producer finance and managed recovery programs overseen by state agencies, with all participants compensated for their contributions, while also ultimately improving the health and well-beings of all Californians. And there's been an increase in EPR legislation and support, and we expect our mission to stay the same over the years, but we're always excited to learn and grow with the times.
Thank you, Olivia. And back to you, Doug.
All right. So one thing you'll note is that we have improved our graphics for describing what happens with product stewardship in California. We're trying to kind of change the conversation a little bit because there's so much overlap between product stewardship and EPR, extended producer responsibility. But the reality is extended producer responsibility is part of product stewardship. And so, like I mentioned, we've changed our graphic up a little bit. We have the umbrella of product stewardship that kind of holds everything underneath it, which would be anywhere from producer responsibility, where our the manufacturers of the products are actually held accountable for the costs and running of programs at the end of life, like several of our programs, batteries, thermostats, pharmaceutical sharps, packaging. And then to the other end of the spectrum, where you and I as consumers pay a visible fee at the check stand to purchase those products and then have that product be dealt with at the end of life. That's what we call consumer responsibility, because there really is no responsibility by the producers on that for those programs. And that's going to be carpet, mattresses, paint, tires, e-waste. You'll see we also have 1 pound refillable propane cylinders on there, because it's a unique one where it's the consumers are paying for it in the sense that they're paying for a little higher price, making that choice, but there's no, the producers of the single-use cylinders are not participating at all in that program. They're not helping that program at all, so they shouldn't get any credit for it. So that's why we're trying to just, like I say, bend the conversation a little bit to make sure that folks know that there are certainly different funding models in there. There's differences in who is actually running the program. That's why you'll see the labels of the different types of products across the spectrum, with the CRV program right in the middle, because that is the only one that really kind of has what I would call kind of a hybrid approach to it right now, which is you've got a little bit of consumers of producer responsibility in there with the processor payments that are required of the beverage manufacturers based on the choices they make for their different packaging products. So if they package it in a bottle that is not as easily recyclable, is more expensive, doesn't fund itself basically through the recycling value at the end of the chain, then they have to pay a little bit in. Interestingly enough, there are other offsets that have actually kind of nulled that requirement, but it's still in the law that they make that payment. So that's kind of why you'll see bottle bill in the middle, and then it just spreads out from there depending on who's actually running the program and who's funding the program. Next slide. So we always like to report how we're doing on our efficiency and where the revenues are coming from. You'll see on the program efficiency, we don't spend a lot on fundraising. We appreciate all the funding that comes in from our funders, as Nate covered in that slide. Thank you very much for for allowing us to spend our time on other things, because you continue to roll in the funding. We appreciate that very much. If you know of a jurisdiction nearby that's not funding us, try to help encourage them to help fund us. That just makes it great for us to continue to do the work we do. We don't spend a lot of money on management in general. I'm a big probably part of that management in general, because I like to call myself the dead weight of the organization, because I'm mostly here just to administer, and staff does all the great work. They're mostly in that program section, that 76%. Thank you, staff. You do an awesome job. And you make me proud, and of course then that helps us to make the board proud of you guys as well, so thank you for that. On the sources of revenue, you'll see that the majority of our revenue does come in from our grants and other type programs. We do have our contributions from from local jurisdictions, and then also our corporate sponsors, as you saw on that. And then there's a small segment there that comes from other sources. Those are oddball things that we're doing to help offset costs. So that is where we are on our programmatic efficiency and our revenue. Next slide. So I like to cover where we are right now in our advocacy and our leadership. So we have several bills that are still in play. And we'll talk about those, I believe, in a little. Well, actually, we won't talk about those a little more. So I'll talk about them here. AB2, which is our solar panel bill, that is a 2-year bill right now, trying to focus on funding and responsibility. That's what that bill is going to do. It's going to establish a funding mechanism for the legacy panels that are out there that aren't owned by big systems or leasing agents like SunPower and Sunrun and SunPower. We have SB 707, which is our textile bill, which is going to be a true EPR bill. That one is working its way through. And then SB 560, which is our gas cylinder bill. We're trying to get establish a true EPR program for all the various compressed gas cylinders out there. And so watch for those. All three of those will be moving in the next year here in 2024. We'll be moving SB 560 first, just because it's still on the first house of the legislature, and it's got to be done and out to the second house by January 31st. So we'll be focusing mostly on 560 just to get it into the second house, but otherwise we will be working on all three of those. Other ones that are out there, we're keeping an eye on. Obviously, we're looking at let's see. Actually, these are all ones that have been signed. So we are tracking other bills, but these are the ones that we were tracking closely and supporting, and you'll see those on the list. But again, as noted below, in our year in review, you can download that. There's a link on the invite to the year in review, so you can check it out. But there's a complete list of all the bills that we were working on. Next slide. Okay, and so one other thing I wanted to make sure that you're aware of is that we are very transparent as an organization. That's why we have nearly bi-monthly, sometimes monthly board meetings. We have monthly associate calls, PAC calls. Those are just to keep you involved and informed. We love when our funders are involved, helping to guide this organization. It is your organization too. It's not just ours. And we also put out newsletters, listservs, and as Nate noted earlier, we have our staff of 7 right now, great staff. And then further, we are very involved, and I like to keep CPSC involved in a variety of levels, where we pretty much have a representative on most of the solid waste organizations out there that are in our realm. You can see the long list there. That represents the majority of the staff in various capacities across the board, but you can see we've got a lot of organizations we are involved in on a regular basis. All right, back to Lydia, I believe.
So CPSC has always been very active on social media, and 2022, 2023 was no different. We were shown in several national, state, and local publications, which we posted. Some of those top publications included Sourcing Journal, Politico, Bloomberg, Vogue Business, Sac Business Journal, LA Times, the SF Chronicle. We are garnering national attention from some of the biggest outlets in the nation. And all of our success on social media is really because of you. We are so grateful for all the ways that you can interact with us on social media, liking, sharing, reposting. We could not do this without your support.
And over to Virginia.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to give a thank you for attending our year in review. We're really excited to do this again, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about the Refuel Your Fun and Save campaign. We've had another very successful year. We've continued to promote the use of reusable 1-pound propane cylinders throughout the state using a variety of tactics, including public education, large-scale and small-scale cylinder giveaway and exchange events, as well as retailer buy-in from both big box and mom-and-pop stores. Our team's been through the state of California, from up to Del Norte County down to Mono County, Los Angeles County, and many different locations within the state. We currently have 13 active Refill Your Fun projects through CalRecycle. We're expecting to increase that number in the next year. Next slide, please. So because of the really good work that we've done through the Refill Your Fun and Save campaign, we've helped to grow the number of locations that people in California can either sell or buy, refill, or exchange a reusable 1-pound propane cylinder. And as you can see from this slide, we've gotten participation from many different retailers from up and down California, from many recognizable stops such as Ace Hardware, REI, Sam's Club. In particular, though, I would like to just mention again Little Camper. Little Camper has been instrumental in making this change easy and effective for residents. Their exchange model in particular is an essential component of our campaign growth, so we just want to give them a big thank you. Overall, we're really proud of the momentum that we've seen with Little Camper, and we're really excited to keep that momentum going through to next year. Next slide, please. So we host a variety of events, giveaway events, exchange events, and this is a really good opportunity to see how implementing the Refill Your Fun campaign is and how it benefits local communities. We find that having these events is a really good way to kind of pinpoint what we can do going forward to make sure that we're reaching residents in a way that's effective and a way that really utilizes these grant funds to the best of their ability. So as you can see by this long list of benefits on the screen, the core of this campaign is ultimately to encourage a behavioral switch, the switch from a single use to a reusable alternative. The most important benefit from this list that I'd like to point out is the long-term reduction of 1 pound propane cylinders coming through the waste stream, specifically due to the costs and environmental impact associated with the disposal of these cylinders. And as you can see, we've got some pictures. The one on the right was actually just taken this last week up in Butte County. We really appreciate all of our grant partners for making these events happen and making them so successful. So thank you very much for our grant partners on the call today. Next slide, please. So in short, the Refill Your Fun and Save campaign helps to provide a long-term solution when it comes to propane cylinders, which in part comes from promotion of reusables all year round throughout every season, not just summer. Hosting fun and engaging educational events across the state in a variety of different communities, from, big urban populations down to the small rural communities. Supporting participating locations and project jurisdictions with project-specific customizable campaign materials, such as flyers, banners, postcards, even coloring books. We do it all here. And also encouraging that behavioral switch from a reusable or from a single use to a reusable alternative. We do a lot of creation of social media here and sharing those campaigns to our communities and campaign coverage all across California. We're really, really excited to move forward with the many Refill Your Fun and Save campaigns that we currently have, and we're also excited to expand to future campaigns. And now I believe I'm turning it over to Doug for solar panels. Oh, yeah, sure.
Something really quick, I wanted to jump in and mention the bulk of our Refuel Your Fun projects are funded through CalRecycle HD grants, and we're really excited about the next cycle that's coming down the pike, HD 41. But we also do a lot of enthusiasm building and educating and just general public education type activities across the state that aren't directly related to HD grants, specifically Refuel Your Fun funded events. So if you're interested in hosting a Refuel Your Fun event in your community, we're happy to have discussions with you at any time throughout the year. They don't have to be related specifically to HD funded grants. So if you want to do just a one-off or something small or something large, and again, not related to HD grants, just drop us an email. Let us know. We're more than happy to support you however we possibly can. Being a funder, either as a sponsor or an associate, comes with many benefits. Some of those benefits include additional graphics and other supporting materials that support each and every one of our campaigns. So if you'd like to explore that further, just let us know. Thanks. Back to you, Doug.
That's a great point. Thank you, Nate.
Thanks, Nate. And before I jump into the solar panel campaign real quick, I just wanted to acknowledge two of our board members that are on. I was kind of waiting to see who other board members would be able to join. So Wes Nelson from Greenways Carpet Recycling is one of our board members, and Justin Lair from Alameda Stop Waste is also on. Thank you both for your participation in the board and all your servitude to CPSC. We really appreciate it. Okay, solar panel campaign. So you may know that we did a couple of HD grant projects for City of Santa Monica and Butte County, which really taught us a lot. We've also had Alameda Stop Waste helping to fund individual projects for solar panel reuse. We really appreciate Alameda Stop Waste and all of the time they put into that, and allowing us to be able to explore solar panel reuse. Also want to note that Courtney Scott and Leslie Lukosh are both on from Sonoma, Zero Waste Sonoma. They have got a project going right now for solar panels. So there still continues to be more work on solar panels and trying to deal with these things that are coming off of the rooftops with nowhere really to go. And hence why we're also pushing AB2 to try and get that funding model going, that hybrid bill of visible fee for legacy panels and then fully funded true EPR for the other panels. Actually, it's not true EPR. I should rephrase that a little bit, because we are actually looking to hold the system owners responsible, not the producers, because most of the panels are actually made in Asia and other countries, other regions. So it's kind of hard to get those folks to take responsibility. And we also had an industry that said they wanted to be held responsible. So that's SEIA, the Solar Energy Industry Association, and CALSA, which is the California Solar Storage Association, both came to us saying, we want to be held responsible. We don't want you to hold the producers responsible. So hence why we've got a kind of an interesting bill going right now with AB2 and AB. And then another bill that's going on right now is AB 1238, also by Assemblymember Ward, which is to deal with the end of the panels when they go to the recycling facilities. Because right now, most of the panels cannot be recycled in California because the recycling facilities, the universal waste, e-waste processing facilities, don't know what's in front of them. They don't know if it's hazardous or not, one of the hazardous panels, and therefore they won't touch them. And so we actually only have one facility that's a full hazardous waste permitted facility in California, and that is in Fresno. So they're able to process them, but they can only process so many. So the majority actually leave the state. And of those that leave the state, not a large fraction are actually recycled. Most of them are just landfilled. So this is a big problem that we're trying to resolve. And so we're trying to do that through the solar panel campaign here, trying to work on that, but also through our couple of bills that are addressing solar panels. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Nate.
Very good. Don't Rush to Flush campaign. This is one of our oldest campaigns. It's been around for many years. It's proven to be highly successful, and it's really changed the game when it comes to disposal of unwanted medications on a residential level. Prior to the start of Don't Rush to Flush, there really weren't a lot of options in the state, virtually anywhere. Very few med bins existed across the state of California. And because of the hard work of many jurisdictions and, of course, the Don't Rush to Flush campaign and the support of many people on this call and the passage of ordinances and eventually state law, I'm happy to say that we have hundreds and hundreds of med bins across the state. So now you, as a resident, have numerous options on where to take your unwanted medications for proper disposal. You can check out the websites that we've got listed on the screen. Don't Rush to Flush is a popular one that shows and includes maps on locations near you. Because of the SB 212 bill that we passed back in 2018, you now have a number of other maps that you can access. And Olivia, Virginia, if you could drop the link to the Pharma Sharps page from CalRecycle into the chat so folks can go and see those maps too. You really do have a lot of options in your community for safe and effective disposal, and chances are they're probably just within a kilometer, mile or two of your home. Next slide, please. So CPSC continues to work on our largest project ever. It was federal funding that went to the state and then distributed to small organizations like CPSC. We decided to use that funding. We applied for funding through the Department of Healthcare Services to place approximately 250 med bins throughout the state of California. And you can see the results of our hard work that we've really put into this program since 2018, 2019. Those bins have been placed. That program is really coming to a close, and we're using the last bit of funding from that project to educate the public. We'll be doing a variety of video campaigns and social media campaigns. And we've also done advertising even within the Department of Motor Vehicles at the DMV offices across the state of California. So we're not going away. We're still pushing hard on Don't Rush to Flush. There still is a thirst amongst the public for knowledge on where they can take their unwanted medications. A lot of folks still don't know. So we're using every penny wisely from that funding, from that project, and leveraging what's currently being done as a result of SB 212 to further educate the public and to make sure that everyone knows where they can take their unwanted medications. So really the name of the game here is public education. We're pushing really, really hard to make sure that everyone across the state knows what they can do and how easy it is to properly dispose of their unwanted medication. If you'd like to do a special project in your neck of the woods related to proper disposal of unwanted medications, just let us know. Either reach out to me directly or feel free to drop a note in the chat. I'm happy to reach out to you. You know, CPSC, we're really experts when it comes to marketing, not just the Don't Rush to Flush campaign, but our other campaigns too. And we've got some amazing material that we can share with you for social media campaigns, video campaigns. We've done quite a bit of video production, and we're also getting into YouTube advertising and other means of letting the folks know. So please do let us know. Next slide, please. And I believe this is Yellen.
Yeah, so as some of you may know, our STRAC is the Statewide Textile Recovery Advisory Committee that kind of brings together a lot of the industry experts on STRAC. Some of you are on screen, as Connie is also part of our STRAC. That is focused really on finding policy solutions at every level of the government to address the growing textile waste stream. So as you have seen by our bills this year, one of the biggest topics that we've been talking about in the STRAC this year has been SB 707. So we've been kind of engaging these industry experts to kind of just see, what do you think about this bill works, what needs to be improved? And that goes into lots of the stakeholder engagement that Joanne, our in-house textile expert, has been conducting with all of the stakeholders in the textile industry, because it's a very, very large industry with a lot of players at hand. Another thing that we are now doing with the STRAC, hosted by our new textile intern, May, who is a Fulbright scholar from Myanmar. She can't be here today because she's actually in finals week at her master's program at UC Davis. But she's going to be taking lead on our new U-STRAC, which is the STRAC but focused on university students. And so another thing that we're here starting kind of our new phase at CPSC is engaging the future, like the future leaders of EPR. And so May is going to take lead on our textile future leaders by hosting the U-STRAC, which will be starting sometime in early to mid 2024. We've already started gathering. We've noticed a lot of these similar environmental programs across the country at both the master's level and the undergrad level. And so we're going to start engaging them to see what do they think needs to be improved and what can we see in the future of textile industry, especially with SB 707 setting the stage for the future of textile EPR. Now back to Doug.
Let me unmute myself here. Thank you, Ellen. I love the idea you guys came up with the U-STRAC. I think that's just awesome. We're reaching out to those younger people that we need to do. So you may be aware that CPSC is a co-sponsor of an annual trip that where we take legislators from the California legislature out to other locations, other states, other countries, and one country, Canada, to explore what is going on in those areas as far as for extended producer responsibility, or really for product stewardship as a whole. And so you see a picture here of our last trip that we took into, we went to British Columbia and also to Calgary in Alberta. And so that was a great trip. We saw a lot of things. I love going on these trips because I actually see things that I haven't seen before. One of the takeaways I had was we saw a gypsum recycling facility, which is not as common here. There are C&D facilities that are capturing gypsum when they can, wallboard, and recycling it. But I was astounded to find out that this one facility in British Columbia was doing probably about 8 times more gypsum tons per year than our biggest facility in California. And so that shows where sometimes programs in other states can work really well, or other countries can work very well, and we can learn from them. But they are also learning from us. So these trips are very useful. You'll see that Colleen Foster there. She was with us on this trip. Nate and I were there. So the three of us were representing CPSC along with all the different legislators. And so again, it's just a great trip to really educate our legislators on these programs. So when we run these bills like AB2, SB 560, and SB 707, they have a better understanding of what we're talking about when we're presenting to committees or when we're talking to them individually. And so it just really helps to push the needle in the right direction for getting these product stewardship programs going. Next slide.
Right. So every year at the CRA conference, CPSC hosts our Aero Awards, which is really kind of focusing on what companies, organizations, or industries are having new creative approaches to tackling the problematic waste products in our waste stream. And so this year we had the most unique range of applicants from most different. Usually we just see the ones from the products that we're working on this year, such as textiles or batteries. This year we really saw a really wide range of applicants. And so one of our big ones this year was Refibered, who was the winner of our Green Arrow Award. Joanne has been working with a lot of different industry groups and LA Sand to kind of host these textile demo events about different textile sorting technologies, and Refibered is one of the new ones that are just breaking out the market. They are a woman-owned, minority-owned company who's kind of innovating, bringing all of the best parts of the current technologies that are available and creating a new one that will hopefully be upscale for large-scale sorting. One of our winners is Goodwill of San Francisco Bay, who is the winner of our Bow and Arrow Award that's kind of focused on coalition building and creating partnerships. And so the past 2 years, CPSC has been partnering with Goodwill of San Francisco, funded by SFE, on a project focused on textile repair and diversion. And so we've been taking products that would otherwise be diverted to landfill and taking them to local repair shops within the city of San Francisco for them to be washed and repaired and then sold on Goodwill to kind of showcase what is the life cycle and how can we prevent these textiles that would otherwise be very useful and can be resold. Maybe they just have a hole or a stain in them, and oftentimes even Goodwill can't sell them because those aren't sellable products. But we realized that there is a way for us to do it. Might be a little bit expensive, but this has been a pilot project that really let us explore what that industry is. Bird's Filling Station is the winner of our Infinity Arrow Award for service and take back. They are a local filling station within San Mateo that's really also working with local organizations to showcase what package-free and alternatives can be for other local minded businesses and showcasing what a zero waste lifestyle can be. Okay. The Crayon Initiative is the winner of our Golden Arrow Award, which kind of just implies the characteristics of all of our Arrow Awards. The Crayon Initiative is a very innovative process that actually takes in unwanted crayons. I don't know if you guys have ever been to a school or have children and they use their crayons like 2 times and then they get thrown away. And so what the Crayon Initiative does is that they take those crayons, they actually just remelt them and also recycle those wax wrappings they have on them, which is not really a good way to recycle them. And they will actually manufacture these special crayons. I don't know if I think they're in the office somewhere, but they're square, they're kind of triangle shaped. So it's easier for kids who have maybe mobility issues or are in the hospitals, so they don't roll off the trays and they can't pick them up. But they manufacture these and then they give them to hospitals all across the country for free. And so we really feel like this is a company that's not only helping a really good cause, but also helping with creating a circular economy. And so in addition to our Arrow Awards, we also recognize an Associate of the Year and a Sponsor of the Year every year. And so this year we have Ria, which I believe I saw on the call as our Associate of the Year from the city of San Francisco. And she's been very active on our PIAC committee and has been really active and also just promoting EPR all across the San Jose community. And then we also want to express our gratitude to Waste Management as the Sponsor of the Year. Waste Management has been working with us for years on various projects, and this year they've also funded our textile waste diversion projects and also been very instrumental in helping us with statewide legislation as well. And then this is our ceremony that was funded by Super Circle. And so if you're interested in joining us next year, we heard this was the best party that we've ever had. And it was at a very nice dim sum restaurant right next to CRA. And we were very happy that we got representatives from every single one of our awardees this year. Neat.
Okay. You know, we always have a lot to celebrate, and this past year has really been no exception, especially on the legislative front. It's really been a banner year for bills related to product stewardship and extended producer responsibilities, and we're really grateful for that, and of course grateful for all of our supporters. Each year we give away our annual Legislative Excellence Awards, and this year's elected officials included Assemblymember Chris Ward, Senator Josh Newman, and Senator John Laird, relating to each of the bills that Doug mentioned earlier. we're really thankful for our legislators who fearlessly took on 3 of the most problematic product streams threatening California's recycling systems: textiles, solar panels, and disposal of compressed gas cylinders. So, after years of really building up to the introduction of these bills, EPR really is, again, the most effective solution for disposal of these problematic products. And these 3 legislators really took the torch and are carrying it fearlessly through the Capitol with the hope of ending these issues of end-of-life management, especially on the front of, again, textiles, gas cylinders, and solar panels. So you can see we have some photos here of the actual ceremony. We have a lot of fun when we celebrate the success of EPR bills, and this particular Legislative Excellence Awards happened at Lucid Winery here in Midtown Sacramento. Really fun place, and it was great that it was so well attended. So thanks to all of you who were able to join us, and of course, special thanks to the award winners for all of your hard work and the progress that you're making on the product stewardship and EPR front. Next is Doug.
All right. Always like to go over what our priorities are going to be for the coming year. And we're actually in the middle of a 2-year session. So that's why you see 2023, 2024, even though 2023 is coming to a close very quickly. But we always start the new session with new bills. In this case, like I mentioned earlier, we have several bills that are carrying over into the next year. So we'll be starting back up. The legislature will be starting back up in early January to start taking on the work that they always do and continue it. Not only will there be we have our 3 bills that we are carrying that I mentioned earlier. We hear there might be a marine flares bill. We'll be watching that closely to see if that one materializes. I'll cover, actually, Yellen will cover our campaign in a minute about marine flares, so stay tuned for that. But just to keep in mind also, while we had over 2,600 bills introduced into the legislature this first year, the 2-year session, fortunately, we don't have to follow all those. But we expect another 2,000 or more to be introduced in early January to mid-February before the deadline. So this is traditional for the legislature. We had over 4,400 bills last 2-year session between the 2 years. We expect that to be now somewhere around 4,600 to 4,700 bills. So the legislature is very busy. They love to try to solve problems, and as a result, we tend to see a lot of bills that are touching on our area, and we're seeing that increasing. We're seeing more and more legislators getting interested in our space, in solid waste, in producer responsibility. So they're definitely taking interest, and that's good, but it certainly keeps us busy as well. So moving on to Yellen.
And so we've already touched base on many of our campaigns this year, from Refill Your Fund, Don't Rush to Flush the STRAC, and then also our new DR Cube, which is kind of an overall mission. But our newest campaign, which was just released about just last month, is the Make the Electronic Marine Flare Switch campaign. And so this campaign has really been focusing on this new product that CPSC has been working with CalRecycle on, which is the pyrotechnic marine flare. So if anyone is a boater, you know that you are required to have 3 day and night flares on your boat when you're operating in certain waterways. But those flares only expire about every 18 months to 24 months, and then the boaters have no idea what to do with them. We've had boaters come to the events that have had 10 years, like a full truck full of stock of these flares, because they just don't know what to do with them. You can't throw them in your trash can because they'll catch on fire. And no jurisdiction has any way to properly dispose of them, because when you dispose of them, they have to be put in an explosives truck, which is very expensive to rent. And they also need to be, there's only 3 places across the country that actually disposes of these marine flares. The one that we have is in Louisiana and Colfax, which actually closed down early this year. And so if that ever happens, we are very limited in our opportunities to properly dispose of these flares. And so what this campaign is really focused on is, one, letting people know that there is a new reusable alternative. They're called electronic visual distress signal devices, or EVDSDs. And these are certified to fulfill the Coast Guard requirements for the day and night use, and they are battery operated, and then we have a new battery program to properly dispose of these batteries. And so this really removes lots of toxic waste from our waste streams and from going into our oceans. And so we're really happy to be partnering with the California Coastal Commission, the California State Parks, and their Division of Boating and Waterways. We've been working very closely with Vivian Matuk from the Boating and Waterways to pioneer this idea, because not a lot of people are working on it, and we are really the first ones to be working on this marine flora issue across the country. And so if you're interested in learning more, you can join our webpage, and then also join our listserv, but we'll be notifying you about if you have those suppliers and you don't know what to do with them, you'll be notified when the events come next year. And now I'll push it back to Lydia.
There we go. I'm back. I wanted to take a moment to thank you all again for all the work that you do to support CPSC. None of the accomplishments of the past year would be possible without your support. But if you're interested in continuing to help CPSC and are wondering what else you can do, we do have a list of items for you. So you can follow CPSC and all of our campaigns, including the Marine Flare Switch campaign on social media. We are active on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube, and we love to see your support there, as I mentioned earlier. You can also email info@calpsc.org to join all of our listservs, including Electronic Marine Flare Switch. And we really appreciate your support.
So I'm going to now go ahead and open it up to any questions of anybody on the webinar here, and feel free to ask us anything.
Connie has a question.
Put it on mute, Connie.
Am I on? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
You can.
The second question was that great new model that you had in the beginning that showed. Can we share that?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So we can put that actual graphic out on as a paste it out into the chat, I think. So if one of the staff members could possibly do that, just make sure to keep the copyright on there. It's the umbrella. I think you were looking for the product that way. So yeah, just maintain the copyright on there. We always want to make sure that and then just give us credit for it and absolutely use it. We're trying to educate. One of our missions at CPSC is to educate, and this is how we educate and try to make sure that everyone's carrying the same message.
I have one more question, if I may, and it's about don't rush to flush. As one who has dealt with elder care facilities or people being home and then they pass on and there's a lot of medicine and people come from out of state, I went through a system where I was saying I want to take that because I know where we can put it. And my brother, who's a doctor in Pennsylvania, said, "Oh, that's ridiculous. Just throw it out." You think you're in California and you don't do. Anyway, what I'm wondering is what is the best way to educate that population? I wonder if it's people coming into elder care facilities and those facilities giving the information out is what I'm wondering.
Yeah, Doug, I'm happy to answer this. There are many ways of educating people. CPSC, all the education that we do for the most part is funded by specific grants. And unfortunately, grant funding is limited. So we can't do everything that we want to do. But one of the best ways of educating people is simply having a discussion, talking with people, whether it's over the dinner table or over the phone, just educating them regarding the best ways to properly dispose of unwanted medications. We're very fortunate to live in California to have these types of options available. Not everyone across the nation really has these types of options, even in more populous states, with higher concentrations of people. So it's important to let folks know that better options do exist. This is the most ecologically sound way of disposing of unwanted medications. We do not recommend that you should flush it down the toilet or put it into the garbage. It needs to be properly containerized and disposed in a safe disposal med bin. So feel free to share the website. We'll put that in the chat, of course. Feel free to reach out to me personally, Nate@calpsc.org. I'll put that in the chat as well, to talk about other ways that you can help educate the folks that are typically have the most unwanted medications, and it's usually the elderly. The goal is to get it out of their drawers and to get it out of their medicine cabinets and to make sure that it doesn't find its way into people who might be vulnerable or might abuse these drugs. We don't want kids or mischievous people getting their hands on these medications. So anything you can do to educate folks who might be sitting on unwanted medications and bring them up to speed on the best ways to get rid of it, we would really appreciate that. And we're happy to facilitate that however we possibly can.
And
Thank you.
Connie,
Great question, Connie.
Connie, let me add real quick just to that, is that with long-term care facilities, there's not typically a pharmacist on site. And so therefore, under the law, they can't host a med bin, for example. There's limited instances where that can happen, but a pharmacist has to sign on that they're going to be there and when that bin is open, et cetera. So it does limit the long-term care facilities' ability to deal with these things. Most of the time, they should be turning those meds over to the next of kin, who can then take them and dispose of them properly. But unfortunately, that is the reality with the DEA regulations and also the Board of Pharmacy regulations.
Thank you.
And if I could just add one more thing to that, Doug summarized it. He also alluded to a special relationship that can exist between elderly care facilities and pharmacists. If you know folks that run elderly care facilities, you can tell them that the DEA allows them to develop a legal close relationship with a pharmacist, with a pharmacy, and they can help them dispose of meds that are gathered at that long-term care facility. So I'm happy to elaborate on that in a separate meeting, of course, if you want to chat, if you have a relationship with a large nursing care facility. I think it's important for us to have that chat. But again, great questions.
And Val had her hand up. Val, you still have a question?
Well, no, I wanted to add that I have worked extensively. I had my mom and my grandmother pass over the last 6-7 years, and one of them was in a care facility. My mother was at home, but the grandma was in the care facility, and we worked with them to deal with the meds and stuff for the grandma. And Butte County Public Health and the city of Chico actually helped a lot when I reached out to them. They were able to communicate with the facilities, not only in Chico, but throughout Butte County, on where to properly dispose with physicians or back at the pharmacies or wherever they needed to take it. And then with my mom, of course, I knew where to take her medication and stuff, but we have in-home care services in our county. Throughout the state, there's in-home care services, IHSS, and usually the nurses will either dispose of it for you, or they'll give you the literature on where you can take it. So I just wanted to add that.
Thanks, Val. That's really helpful. There's a lot of interest growing on, the best ways to dispose of unwanted medication. So if you ever have any questions and if you can't remember any of the details or just want more information, feel free to reach out to us. I'm more than happy to help. And I did want to mention one quick thing about marine flares. There's a lot of enthusiasm, not just here at CPSC, but throughout the state about the best way to dispose of marine flares. You're probably wondering why marine flares, and the reason why is because one of the main reasons is because the cost of disposal has just shot through the roof. It's horribly, horribly expensive to properly dispose of unwanted marine flares. I'm talking about the ones that explode, the ones that fly up into the air and then explode, the pyrotechnical ones. Each of those pyrotechnical marine flares contain toxic metals and toxic chemicals. Perchlorate is one of the most toxic. In fact, one marine flare can pollute up to 240,000 gallons of seawater. And the Coast Guard, I believe, requires every boat to have 3 devices on board. So if you're following the rules, and if you find yourself with old expired marine flares and it doesn't take long for them to expire, a lot of boaters are tempted just to toss them in the water, and that's not a good way. It's not by any means a good way to dispose of those. So the faster we can get folks to switch to the reusables, the better, not only for the cost of disposal, but also to preserve our marine ecosystems, which are horribly fragile and really need the protection. So just wanted to point that out. But if there's anything you can do to raise people's awareness of the marine flare campaign, especially if you live in a jurisdiction that has a lot of lakes or is on the ocean, we're more than happy to work with you and talk about expanding the public education efforts you might already be undertaking to include our marine flare campaign. Thanks.
All right, I'm not seeing anything. We're almost close to time here, so I want to thank everyone for joining us on this webinar to talk about what we've been doing over the last year. We like to have these each year just to keep you informed. And with that, I want to wish everyone a great holiday season. Regardless of what holidays you celebrate, please enjoy, and we will be seeing you more in the new year. Thank you.